Vince, I see you in there. I guess I'm gonna do this thing like the influencers do, and I'm gonna hold my microphone. It's fancy, right? Makes me cool. We're gonna give it a minute, and then we'll dive into this one. Give a few more people a chance to jump on here. Yeah, we're talking about my terrible luck. I just got bad luck when it comes to hunting. Oh, see what Deep Roots has got going on their Instagram. All right, so let me hit this record button if I can find it, and we'll kick this show off. Right, as you know, I'm back out here on the deck. This wonderful, beautiful night air. You can see the mosquitoes buzzing around, but the tiki torches are working double overtime back here. Um, and as always, this show is brought to you by Deep Roots Rifle Company. Uh, Rooted in excellent, elevated excellence, rooted in integrity and reliability. Man, it's been a long day. I was just looking at their Instagram, and Peter's got that 7 PRC. I guess he smoked a nice coyote with it, and that MDT chassis, really nice rifle. But they've got a whole bunch of good stuff over on their um, website. Way more than just having the custom weapons, custom rifle builds. They've got scopes, rangefinders, ammunition, you name it, it's all there. So go check them out. And let's dive into the moral of this story that I've got terrible luck. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have luck at all. So I'm going to start this off by saying I sat here last week and I said, guys, maybe next weekend is going to be the weekend. I've got that private piece. We're going to go and turkey hunt on. That's going to be it. Going to get the boy a bird. That's how it's going to happen. I had to work this weekend. Didn't get to go. That is the story of my life, my friend. I always get the shaft of ladyboy luck, I guess. Good Lord. I hate it every time, especially with turkeys. Every single time. It is just frustrating. But I've already given you like the down low on my terrible turkey luck. So now I'm going to give you my unlucky stories from every other venture. And I'm going to start off with one that I don't think I've told, even on our podcast before, on the main podcast. And this involves my good buddy, Tyke. It's kind of twofold, my luck type of story. So, let's see. If I don't remember if this was the first time. Maybe one of the first times me and Tyke had gone out to do some coyote hunting in the off season when we lived up in Kentucky. He gets over to my house. It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. We're getting ready to get out way ahead of sunrise, do a little calling, try to catch some dogs right there at daylight. Got the truck loaded up. We get in the truck, but first we got to run down the road to the gas station, which is the opposite direction of where we're going to go hunt to get some fuel. So we load up in my truck. We start heading down the road, and the low air light on the dash, bing, lights up. Tires going flat, losing air. I said, well, shit. No big deal. You know, I think, probably got a nail on the tire or something. We'll just swing into Flying J, Pilot. I actually stopped at a Pilot. We'll swing into a Pilot. We'll, NASCAR pit stop this at the pump. We'll be in and out of there half an hour. No big deal. So pull in there, get out. The first thought was actually to get a plug kit and just pull the nail, plug it, re-air it back up, and be out of there. Never change the tire. Then we realize the hole is in the frickin' sidewall of the tire. So now we've got to do the NASCAR pit stop, change. I bought this truck used, mind you. We got to drop the spare tire. And the dingling that owned it before me put a cable lock around the spare tire to the frame, which I didn't have the key to, nor did I even know it was on there until I tried to get the freaking tire from underneath the truck. So we ended up plugging the sidewall and driving the mile back to the house, just limping it back to the house because it's not safe to plug a sidewall of a tire. That's what we had to do. Had to get back to a sawzall. Tried to cut it with a jeweler's saw. No, couldn't do that. Plug the sidewall, drive back to the house, get the sawzall out. Still takes a good 10 minutes to cut through it with a sawzall. Finally get that off, get the tire changed, and all in all, and by that time, mind you, we started at like 4:30 in the morning. Now it's closer to 7. So the whole morning was spent fighting one bad tire. Well, yeah, Vince, you can stuff them in the sidewall of a lawnmower, but not a pickup truck going down the highway, man. My grandfather had an old Craftsman lawnmower with a piece of plywood holding the tire on the bead for years. That's neither here nor there. But so we finally get out to the woods. Did not see a coyote that morning. And I want to think this is not the same day. This is a separate day. Maybe we'd gone out about midday, thinking we'd hunt the midday into the afternoon, evening, or maybe it was late morning. I don't remember. But we had just pulled up to this agriculture field that we were going to get out and go to the back side of. And the whole reason we were going there is because I had hunted in the training area across the road from it the couple days before, and I heard a good pack fire up in that direction. So that's where we were headed. But when we pull up to this field, here comes a coyote cutting across the middle of it. I was like, oh, it's game on. We got to get quick, got to move quick. So get in the back of the truck, get in the back seat, pull the 17 HMR out, put the magazine in, stick it in the driver's side floorboard. Then I'm start pulling the shotgun out of the case because I'm a big fan of if you're going to hunt two guys, one guy's got a rifle, one guy's got a shotgun. And the reason we're using a 17 HMR is because when we hunted on the base there at Fort Campbell, you had to use a rimfire. You couldn't use centerfire to hunt coyotes, whatever. So there goes the fire truck. We're using like a 12 gauge with, I think, BB, something like BB shot. Biggest we could use was T-shot, and I think BB's big double BB was the biggest I could find at that time. Lead, either BB lead or double BB lead. I don't remember. Either way, it'll easily take a coyote down out to 60 or 70 yards. Shooting it out of a full choke. And so I set the rifle down in the driver's seat, and Tyke is in the passenger seat trying to get his stuff together. And mind you, this coyote had like We saw it up on a rise, and then it went down into like a low spot where we couldn't see it. And that's when we started pulling all the, getting everything ready to go. Well, in the time that I'm dragging the shotgun out of here, Tyke, he says, "Hey, where's that rifle at?" We might need to hang on a minute. I'm going to let this siren go past. You guys are getting the full experience tonight. I bet he's going to turn and go right past the house. No, he kept going. Okay. So Tyke says, He's like, "Where's the rifle?" It's like it's in the driver's side floorboard. So as soon as he said that, I look up through like the back seat window and I can see that coyote on the next hill. And he just dropped him right there from where we were parked. 7,500 yards. Dropped him with that 17 HMR. And I was like, man, that's my luck. The one dog we do see, gone. He got him. I mean, it's just good, I guess. I didn't see another coyote that day. Skinned him out. Tyke tanned that hide. He still got it somewhere in his garage. Tyke, you in here tonight? You got that coyote? I know he's got that coyote in his garage somewhere. So, yeah, I've got water. I'm drinking water. I'm on call. I got to work this weekend. So that's my luck there. And then let's see. Lucky but unlucky all in the same hand. The first deer I ever shot with a bow. I would say luck was really in my favor in that one, in all honesty, because I had set up on a fire break crossing, and I had tracks going every which direction, meaning that they were going, coming to and from at any given time from that one spot. So I sat up there, had about a 10-yard shot down to the fire break, and then I had watched a doe come in early in the afternoon from probably 80 yards off, come across the field, come down in front of me, and she got right in front of me. And then when I drew back on her at 10 yards, she must have heard the arrow like running across the rest or something, looked up, seen me, gone. About 20 minutes later, I had a yearling come in from over my back left shoulder, and I had where I was sitting out in front of me was the intersection out to the front of my left, and there was a curved spot that connected the two fire breaks to the pine trees, and I was kind of sitting on the very end of that. So I could look back behind me and see around to that curve and see a little further down the fire break to my left. Well, this yearling comes in, stops at 30 yards, runs away, comes back, runs away, comes back. I was like, man, if you just bring Mama, we could make something out of this. Sure enough, about the third or fourth time she come back, Mama come with her. Now here comes the daggum whirly bird. That ain't no good. Anyway, and I shot that doe almost directly broadside, and she bolted. I hit her good. The entry shot looked good. I got down and blood trailed her, but the one flashlight I had was not a very strong flashlight, and the battery died. So blood got thin at about 30 yards from where she ran, and my flashlight was dead. So I had to kind of give up the search for the evening. But I called the game warden, And I was able to get back into that training area the next morning, even though it was closed, to look for that deer. And that night, I think it got down to like 35 degrees or so. So she was good to sit overnight. I knew I made a good shot. When I got back in the morning, but it rained overnight. There's some more just tough luck for you. The good luck is, though, he gave me an hour to go find her. I got in there. I knew where I lost blood. I left a piece of orange, like ribbon tied to the bush where I last had blood. And so I started there. Couldn't find any more blood because of the rain and the heavy dew. So I started grid searching out from there, and just to the back side of the privy hedge that I lost blood on, she was dead directly behind that. Got her drug back out, and then later on that year, I killed a nice 8-point. I should have brought those horns out here with me. They're in my studio. I meant to when I thought about this earlier in the week, but hit him right in the pump house, man. He didn't go but 60 yards, and there was just a beautiful blood trail the whole way. Shot him at 15 yards, quartering away, cut the top of his heart clean off. So my confidence is pretty high going into the next season. And I was in a class, and we had kind of been getting out early, and there was rumor of the fact that we were going to get out around lunch on the Friday. So they let us out at like 10:30, 11ish on that Friday. Then I get out of there, and I'm like, man, I really wanted to go. I had just acquired that year a 12 gauge slug barrel for my Remington 870 with a cantilever scope. I had it sighted in. That's what I wanted to hunt with. But none of the shotgun areas were open. They were all full. Only thing that was open was a bow only area. It's like, no big deal. I've killed 2 deer with a bow. I can do this. So I head out to the bow only area. I had never scouted it before, never even sat foot in it. In fact, I had to look it up on a map to figure out where the heck it was at. I just signed into it because, I live by, as we talked about earlier in one of these earlier episodes, can't kill deer on the couch, right? So you got to get out of the house, get into the woods, kill deer. So it was kind of piss and rain, and I just walked off down a fire break, and I wanted to find a decently dry place to sit. So I got into like a thick little pine hammock, found a good tree to climb, got my climber up there, got up there, and what I like to do when I get set up to bow hunt is I'll pull my rangefinder out. I don't like trying to range a target when it's in front of me, like ranging a deer while it's standing out in front of me. I'll try to pick things out in the landscape and then range them so I know, that log laying there is at 32 yards. And once a deer crosses that, it's inside of 30 yards. And then, 10, 20, 25, all throughout different places, deer. In my shooting lanes, I'll range stuff so I know when deer cross it, that's how close they are. I don't like to have that extra movement of trying to get a rangefinder out. Unless I absolutely have to. So I had ranged a log over my back left shoulder that was right at 30 yards. And 30 yards is about where I want. 35 yards is about as far as I wanted to shoot. Like I said, I was confident at 30 yards, though, because I'd already killed a deer at 30 yards. I could do it. Did it once, I can do it again. So, and I'm sitting there reading my book. I'm just, like I'm hanging out right now. I got my 1 foot crossover sitting on top of my knee, sitting there reading a book. Got my bow set up. I don't have my release hooked up or nothing. And my bow's just laid across the climber in front of me. And I hear a deer walking to my left. So I just kind of, you see me now, looking out the corner of my eye, and I can see feet, like the deer's legs, moving underneath the thick pine thicket over there. I was like, okay, I'm going to see a deer today. So I kind of turn my head real slow, and out steps Bambi's daddy, son. An absolute hammer of a 12-point. And I was like, all right, we're going to shoot a deer today. And he walked out 10 yards. It looked right at me. And I was like, that's it, dude. I'm screwed. He's got to see me here. I had good back cover in the direction he came from, and I was sitting real still. So he started kind of walking off back behind me. And I was like, well, I closed my book, stuck it next to me in the climber seat, hooked my release up to my bow. And it's just here goes nothing. So I stood up and drew back all in one motion, and then kind of turned backwards, which I need to do a video on that, how I stand and shoot back over my shoulder, because it's been too often I've had to make that shot where your feet are facing forward, but you got to turn at the hips and shoot back over your shoulder because the deer gets behind you. But I was prepared for that because I practiced that. And he was walking towards my 30-yard log. And I was like, okay, I'm going to let him get just this side of that 30-yard log. That way I know he's right at 30 yards. And then I give him the old meh. And that's what I did. As soon as I did that, he stopped. And he looked up and straight ahead. Did not look back at me. He just looked straight in the direction he was going. I was like, it's game time. Settled that 30-yard pin right there in the pocket and touched that release off. And I watched that arrow. Vital zone. Like time just almost stood still. Vital zone. Vital zone. Vital zone. Twig. Right over top of his back. That's one of those, that deer will haunt me for the rest of my life. I knew then that I missed. I didn't have that thwack you get when it punches body. I climbed down, and I wanted so badly to have thought I missed and then walk over there and find blood. I found my arrow, picked it up, and there were 2 hairs stuck in the broadhead where it just touched the top of his back. That was all there was, those 2 hairs. No other hair, no other signs of a hit, no blood. I searched for 2-3 hours to just find 1 drop of blood. Nothing. And I knew there was never going to be blood. But I hunted that deer the rest of the season and never so much as saw a hide or hair of him. That buck is one that I definitely measure all bucks against when I see big bucks now, because I had that deer dead to rights at 30 yards and I missed. I have to say, if I could go back in time, have no effect on it whatsoever. Like, I wouldn't wish to go back in time to try to kill said deer, but if I could go back in time and just watch that memory as it happened as a replay, I would over and over and analyze and figure out everything that went wrong. As far as I know, I hit a twig. And I look back and I'm like, man, was it the buck fever that made me aim with the 40-yard pin or 50-yard pin, and that's why I shot high? I don't know. That one stings. More bad luck. We had a nice buck on camera on some private we hunted up in Tennessee. And we had put another monster like I missed in our soybean food plot. And we'd put in work to try and get him. All of us hunted him hard. And then we had been dealing with some trespassing issues, so we had been in contact with the game warden, showed the game warden the deer, and then the game warden just stops by unexpectedly one day And he was like, "Hey, don't chase a ghost." That buck was shot on the public property, the public land that bordered the back of the private piece we were hunting at night. Thankfully, they caught the guy, but that still sucks. Bad luck. But most of my bad luck stems around turkey hunting. No, my boy was pretty disappointed we didn't get to go this weekend, but it is what it is. Season ends next weekend down here. It's just getting started everywhere else, it seems like. You got a lot of the Midwest just fixing to open up here in a week or two. Florida's closing down next weekend. Georgia's a week or so behind it. I'm not sure what Alabama's looking like, but yeah, it's wrapping up down here. A lot of changes coming. We talked about a couple weeks ago blue laws, right? And Connecticut has made legislature. I think we talked about this a little bit last week to do away with some of their blue laws in certain forms. Georgia is opening a early rifle season, antlerless rifle season, or they've proposed it so far to open up like the weekend before rifle starts, I think, or maybe it's the first weekend of muzzleloader be antlerless only for rifle in most counties. But we'll see how that goes. It's only a proposed rule change at the moment, so we'll see where it goes from there. We got the black bear hunt potentially 2025 in Florida, with the meeting coming up in Ocala on the 21st and 22nd of May. So if you guys are local, we'd love to see you there. I'll be there. Come find me, say what's up. Show up, say your piece, and hopefully we'll get us a black bear hunt. It's shaping up to be pretty interesting. I think that as far as it looks right now, the first year will be in December, and they're reserving the right to move that hunt date based on whether the quota's met or not. And then the year after that, they may allow hunting with dogs and hunting over bait, which is great. I like the idea of hunting over bait or hunting with dogs for bears because they're not really easy to pattern. They roam so much. Why kill the black bears? Black bears are delicious. I would love to go on a black bear hunt. I'm not necessarily a big concern. If I drew a Florida black bear tag, I would totally go and try and fill it. But black bear meat is delicious. And bear grease. Like, it's clean cooking oil. But being able to use dogs and bait allows you to be a little more selective. If you bring bears in, you get a longer chance to actually look at a bear and say, yeah, that's kind of a young bear. I may not want to take that one, versus you'll have guys the first year, like, this is the only bear they see. They want to fill the tag that they paid for, because I think it's like you can pay like $5 an entry with unlimited entries, which is going to kind of work like Florida's special opportunity hunts. You can put $5 in. I don't think there's any limit on how many entries you can do for that either, and that'll get you into places like Lake Panisofsky and a few other wildlife management areas. There's a lot of black bears in Maine. There's a lot of black bears here in Florida, not near as big as they are in Maine, but they eat good nonetheless. But having the bait and having the dogs too, with the dogs, like, just because you tree a bear doesn't mean that's the one you have to kill. And I know that there's a lot of guys that would enjoy that. That's a pretty common way to hunt bears across the U.S. is to use dogs and to use bait. So we'll see how this season evolves. If we get the season in 2025, and hopefully it sticks around, and we'll be able to make use those funds to start conserving habitat better and making some big habitat changes for black bears across Florida, so that we have better habitat opportunities for them. I mean, you look at like quail, for example. We have several WMAs that are specifically have areas that are specifically laid out for bobwhite quail, and the way they manage that is to keep bobwhite quail in the landscape. Like that's good stuff when you've got money allocated specifically to that. Same with deer, and a lot of people want to point at hunting not being an effective management tool, but man, hunters are the sole reason we have the majority of ducks we have. We fought to have the duck stamp and the rules that revolve around that, and that successfully brought the funding from that has paid for so much waterfowl habitat and wetlands conservation that we brought wood ducks back from almost extinction to be one of the most prolific ducks in the United States. And that's an awesome thing. In fact, there are, I need to go back and look again. I want to say like 11 species that have been brought back from off of the endangered species list to have a huntable population, which, we look at that, an animal being endangered, and then you bring it off the endangered species list and you want to say, why would you want to hunt it? Well, that's a good thing. Like we have such a surplus now of an animal that was once endangered that we can have a well-regulated hunt to help control the number. Because a lot of times what we run into, especially with the black bears now, is that we don't have the habitat we once had for them. So you do reach carrying capacity, and then you have a lot of vehicle strikes, and bears inevitably don't have food. So you see a lot of male bears predating on cubs and smaller bears, and we don't want that either. We want to make sure our population is in balance so that we can constantly constantly have a healthy young of the year brought up to keep replenishing the surplus. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully we'll see you guys in May. I'll be there. But until then, I think next week I had a listener of the show submit a question, wants to know about shotgun barrel lengths. And man, I'm going to break down the anatomy of a shotgun barrel. It's one thing to talk about rifle barrels, and with a rifle barrel, you're talking, bullet weight versus rifle twists and barrel length and time for powder to burn. But shotgun barrels aren't rifled, so there's some neat stuff that goes into shotgun barrels that affects your pattern and how certain shot shoots. So we'll dive into that. But till next week, thank you guys. I'll hang around here for a minute on the live, and then I'll get the heck out of here. Let's see here. Till I've made my first grand, this podcast don't make no money. It's fun. I still work a day job. That's why I'm on call. Oh. But I don't know, maybe one day. Well, I think I'm going to take my butt off to bed. Y'all have a good night.